tuned into Tomcat Tales, the story of Ashland's legends from the gridiron, the court, the diamond, and beyond. It's a deep dive into Ashland Tomcat sports history. Now, here's your host, Mark Maynard.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Tomcat Tales. Today we have a special guest lives in Lexington now, but he'll always be a Tomcat. And that is Greg Conley, quarterback for the Tomcats back in the 80s, and one of Herb Conley's sons. So that will be interesting. We're looking forward to talking to Greg about all that. Greg, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Mark. Looking forward to it. It's always an opportunity to talk about Tomcat sports, especially Tomcat football. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I guess we'll get started. A couple things I think kind of interesting. One, of course, is, being Herb Conley's son. How tough was that to live up to that?
Yeah, I think more than anything, looking back, first of all, it was a blessing. When you called to ask to do this, it gave me time to kind of reflect on a few things. And, of course, Dad was a figure that people still talk about today. He had success playing football, coaching football, so hard to live up to that standard, the achievements he had on the football field. So, but growing up, as a young boy, back in my JFL days, I didn't think really anything of it. I looked, to me it was just a great blessing. He was kind of, he was my hero, my brother's heroes, just everything that he accomplished. And, he didn't put any pressure on us. I think we probably put the pressure on ourselves. He just wanted us to go out there and have fun. So I think later on, as I got into high school, probably a little bit more pressure. But, growing up, there was really no pressure. It was just a privilege to be part of the Tomcat program.
Did your mom and dad, they wanted you to play sports though, right? They didn't force you to maybe, but, obviously being around it like you were probably going to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was never, matter of fact, here's a funny story. I played JFL 4th and 5th grade year football. Then my 6th grade year, I decided not to play football. I wanted to concentrate on basketball. You know how young kids are. They go through a lot of different emotions and thought processes. So, I was a kind of common, and I thought my career would be in basketball. So even though I enjoyed football, I told Dad that I don't know how it all played out. I just remember telling him I didn't want to play football going into my 6th grade year. And I don't know the exact reaction. He didn't get mad. I know that much, but he did tell me this. He said, if, one thing about it, if you start a sport, you can't quit. And if you don't start it during the season, you're not going to be able to get back into it. So, I set out that 1 year. I was bored to death because after that I continued to play 7th grade through, high school. So, but yeah, there was no pressure. It was just, I think at that time, me and my brothers, it was just kind of common. We knew we were going to play sports in some capacity. We were around it all the time, all of our lives.
Like Sean, did he play JFL? Probably did.
Yeah, him and Jeff. Sean played up through his 8th grade year, and then Jeff played up through his 9th grade year, and then they both focused on basketball. So, I was the only one that played football through high school.
Of course, my earliest memories of you, and so are a lot of people in Ashland, is you and Sean. I guess it was you and Spirit, it was you and Sean, dressed in little Tomcat uniforms or dressed in a uniform and smacking each other on the sidelines, behind the Tomcats on Friday nights. People, I'm sure people talk to you a lot about that.
Yeah, they have. Matter of fact, especially if it was a blowout, when Ashland was winning big, we were kind of the entertainment. It was myself and then Sean, of course, Bob Force's son, Dougie, at the time. He was a mascot. So it was me and Dougie starting out, and then Sean kind of joined us at the end, and everybody got a kick out of it because me and Doug kind of teamed up on Sean, which was probably a sight to behold, me and him taking on Sean. But, and heck, back in the day, in the 70s, that's when the Steelers were popular. But, as far as I was concerned, the Tomcats were the thing. Back in the 70s, it was all, Tomcat football was everything. So
I'm trying to think. That would have probably been, let's see, what group of teams was that, like 73, 74, 75?
Yeah, that would probably been more of the 71 to about 73, I would say, because I think after when I got into about 4th, 5th grade, when I started JFL, I was not a mascot at that time. So up until my 3rd grade year, so that probably would have been around, early 70 through 72 time frame, I'd say, maybe 73.
Yeah. So, of course, I know your mom was, so instrumental in your life, and especially life of a coach or wife of a coach has a lot more honor. Just because, he's got so much time he's putting in, watching film and practice and everything. Talk about your mom a little bit. What she meant to you.
Oh yeah, she was the she was the foundation of the family, no doubt about it. I mean, think about it. Herb Conley's your husband, and like you said, he was inundated with the sports program, football program, and then you've got 3 boys to take care of. I guess the good thing, she ran us back and forth to everything. I mean, if it was basketball practice or football practice, I mean, she was the one that did it because he was so busy, coaching. He had to put a lot of time and energy into that. So, and that was one good thing looking back being a mascot. I had a lot of opportunity to spend with my dad, and so did Sean. When we went to, especially the games, or we would go to a practice. So, but but Mom was the foundation. She was quiet in the background. She didn't really say a whole lot. I don't know what she did up in the stands. I don't know how she reacted up there. I'm sure a lot of nervousness, with him coaching and me playing and my other brothers playing basketball. And you know how it is too. I mean, as a coach's wife, I mean, you probably hear a lot of things you don't want to hear, especially when things aren't going too well. So, and thank goodness, my dad had a lot of winning seasons, not too many losing seasons. He had a few starting out that way. So, yeah, she was the rock. She was the foundation. She kind of held everything in place for us. So. And she's been missed. I guess because it's been 9 years when she's passed. So, but we still miss her dearly today. So,
I was trying to think. I thought it was about 10 years. So,
and yeah, 2011.
This is her greatly. I know. It's you talk about a couple of those. That 69, the 70 season, even 70 season was not good. I mean, they was playing so many young guys, playing a lot of sophomores, and. As I've told him several times, Ashland's with you winter tie. Just don't lose, and they did. Young guys are going to lose really most of the time, and of course they win that Iron game and takes off from there. But you were probably just like 6 years old then or so, maybe.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. My memories are more the good memories. Back in about the 72 time frame up through 76. So yeah, those early years, I don't really remember anything about the teams other than what I've read and Dad's told me, the stories he told me. So.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. Some fun times there with some great teams that you remember. Who were some of the guys you recall?
Oh gosh, like everybody else, the 75 team and the 76 team, especially that 75 team. I think that. I think everybody in Ashland remembers that, but it had a special memory for me too because my cousin Mark played. He was a junior on the 75 team. He started as a defensive back, and then became the starting quarterback in 76. But I mean, gosh, the list goes on. I mean, from Terry Bell to Casey Jones, Jay Shippey, Chuck Anderson, Rick Sang, Gary Thomas, Greg Jackson. I mean, the list just goes on and on. I mean, there was just. There's so many outstanding athletes, on that 75 team that and some carried over to 76. So great fond memories of those teams.
Yeah. Were those the guys you kind of, I don't want to say idolized, but a little bit, they were kind of your Tomcat heroes,
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They were. And a little story here, and unfortunately, Casey Jones has passed away. I don't know if that was last year, Mark. Was it last year when Casey passed? I don't know if it's been 2 years now. I can't remember.
It's been 2 years now, I think. Yeah.
2 years
For
now.
Sure.
Well, he was a stud, of course, offensive tackle, and just a big old boy. Well, I think he went to UK on scholarship, I believe Casey did. But my freshman year, I played for Coach Mayo for the Tomcats. That was the first year. We were the first class to go to the high school from Putnam. We didn't have a ninth grade year at all. Everybody went over to be a Tomcat. So when they made that transition, and Casey Jones was assistant football coach, and of course he played for Dad. He was big and rugged, and I still remember this today. I mean, I injured my hamstring in practice. matter of fact, I injured it pretty good because I think I missed a couple games, and I think for the Kiwanis Bowl I was still kind of, a little bit injured. But I just remember him ripping into my tail, telling me that, I was laying there, I was in pain, and he's looking at me, yelling at me, saying, "Now Herb Conley would be getting up." He was kind of telling me the story about, how Dad would have responded to this. So those were some of the things, that were a little bit more challenging, because Dad was a tough character. So, Casey meant it for my good, of course, but I still remember that story, and I can laugh about it today. But he got on me pretty good, and I don't think he knew how injured I was, but it was a good story, funny story there.
Of course, your dad has a reputation of being tough, and he is, and all that. That's kind of, strong, tough, all that kind of thing. As a dad, I'm sure you see him a little different, than that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, Dad, when growing up, he was big and strong anyway, so that he put the fear in us just looking at him, so sometimes he could look at us cross-eyed. But, no, I mean, looking back, I mean, there were a lot of things that, he handled it with a lot of dignity. I mean, having three boys, and we could be a little ornery at times, and but when he had to discipline us, he did. He sure did. But he could have hurt us bad if he wanted to. But I don't remember anything that painful. But I mean, it was painful at the time, and especially when Mom said, "Hey, when she would take the belt to us, and we didn't respond, we act like it didn't bother." She said, "Well, just wait till your dad got home, then we try to shed a few tears."
Yeah, try to pinch yourself or something, right?
But
that would not be good. Well, so of course, and I know you've heard this story, but so the story goes that you over in Myrtle Beach, and your mom was kind of worried, I guess, a little bit when you were on the beach because you all were pretty fearless going out, into the water. And your dad said they talked, and your dad said, "Well, we'll take him. There's a movie in town about sharks or something. Let's take him that, and see what happens." And of course, it was Jaws, and what a frightening movie that was, and especially to watch it at the beach. And you guys are, 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever. So is that? And then they said from then on, "No, Dad, I really don't want to go in the water." After watching that, is that all? Is that all true?
I do remember him taking us to the movie, and I'm sure for a period of time that we were probably a little bit fearful, but I'm sure we got over that pretty quickly. You know how young kids are, so I think there may have been a fear for a short period of time, but I'm sure after that, they were probably yelling at us to get in closer to the shore. So, but he did. He took us to see the movie Jaws, and I can vaguely remember, but I do remember some of that. So,
okay. Of course, that's eventually why the team gets nicknamed that from that movie, and the rest is Tomcat history, I guess, as far as Jaws goes, for sure. So you're playing. You're at Putnam, and I guess you're probably maybe the only guy. And I don't know if there may have been other guys that were 8th graders that played in that Kiwanis Bowl, the last Putnam Kiwanis Bowl, which you were the 8th grade starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And then you played the 9th grade year, and that's when they changed. Of course, Verity moved to. I mean, it became Verity, and the two junior highs merged and all that. And so you played the first Ashland Russell game in the Kiwanis.
I had the.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark. I was just going to say, I had the luxury of playing in the last Putnam Coast Kiwanis Bowl and the first, Ashland Russell Kiwanis Bowl. Unfortunately, I was on the losing end on both sides. So, but I do remember. I do remember both the games to some extent.
And you're on the losing team in the simulation game. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't know.
I know. I think I saw a lot of comments on there. I think some of those want a rematch. It sounds like so, but that was good. I mean, a lot of great players that became a lot of guys I idolized, of course, and looked up to and watched. Even after I left. So a lot of good memories.
I talked about your dad being your dad, but a lot of players saw him that way. Now I know that coaching generally is that's true. There a lot of times the coach is the father figure, for for players that maybe they don't, their dad's not around, or their dad died, or maybe their dad's just doesn't care, inactive or whatever. Did you see that a lot with your dad and how he treated his players?
Yeah, I did. It's amazing, still today, the players that he played for him or went to school, when Dad taught school or was a principal or a teacher, that still come up to him and talk to him with so much respect. That's one thing about, people, they respected Dad. He was definitely a disciplinarian, but he cared for people. He cared for people, and still to this day, he's got so much respect for so many people. I still have people checking in. He's just now kind of entered the Facebook world. I'm not sure how that's working out. He's not much on the technology stuff, but I'll still have some of his players, just check in to see how Dad's doing or ask about him. So, he just has so much respect, so many people in the community, just how he handled himself and as a person.
Yeah. I think, part of his charm, as I don't know if that's the right word, part of his legacy and that kind of thing, he kind of went out, on a high note, really. I know they lost their last game, but he went out with great teams, for 4 or 5 straight years there. And people remember the last thing, that's kind of how life works, it seems like, And I think people remember his career maybe as too short, for one thing, that, wow, you thought he'd have coached a lot longer than the nine seasons at Ashland. Of course, he later went to Penns Valley and all that. Of course, I know part of it was helping your mom raise you guys too, and I think he wanted to see you all play and be a part of it that way, and also to be an administration where he would make a little more money, and help that way as well.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that. He's talked about that some to me over the past years. That he did. He got out of coaching early. One to go into administration so he could, financially make more money for the family and spend more time with us. And I think one thing too, he looked at me coming up. He just didn't know how that would play out. Me playing for him, with those expectations and everything.
Yeah.
But he's made the comment many times. He wished he would have hung in there a little bit longer and maybe coached me. So I don't know how that would have worked out. That could have been interesting. We'll never know. But he's made that comment. He wished he would have, stayed on longer so he could have coached me through school. But everything works out for a reason. I had Vic March as a coach, who was an outstanding coach. Everything, all the success he's had. So everything's got a reason. And but he looks back and kind of wishes he could have maybe coached a little bit longer. So.
Now you look like your dad, but who would you say you're more like, your mom or your dad?
I would say my personality is a little bit more like my mother. She was kind of the jokester, and that's probably me. I think Sean's a little bit more like Dad. He's definitely disciplined, and he's a coach too, so he keeps following Dad's footsteps. As a basketball coach, so. And Jeff may have a flavor of a little bit of both of them at times. So, but I'd say a little bit of my mother, personality-wise.
I think you're probably right. I hadn't seen Sean in a few years. I saw him at the CP1 Hall of Fame thing last summer, or summer before last, and I was like, my goodness, that's Herb Conley walking up. He looks like his dad.
Yeah. He does. Yeah, he does, and he's got more of a personality like Dad. So that's definitely. I've got a little bit more like Mom. So
he could probably squinch that nose up and make everybody run like your dad would.
Yeah. Because Sean works out a little bit too, So growing up, I had the best of him. I don't think I'd tangle with him now.
Yeah. You had him then. You had him back behind the bench, but not now. So.
Oh yeah.
Of course, you come in. Actually, your first season was with Mike Manley. Mike Manley's only season, and he was a really good coach, and just got an opportunity to leave and go to and go to Moorhead. Or did you go to Moorhead? I think so. Yeah, from Ashland.
Yeah, I believe he did. I believe so.
And of course, you all had a great season, 9-4. Ranked third in the AP. Just outstanding team, really. And I don't know how much you played on that team, because that was a pretty good team.
It was a really good team. Yeah, outstanding team. You know, like you said, I tell you what, I did have the opportunity. Unfortunately, Derek Morrison, who was the strong safety, broke his arm against Campbell County in a playoff game. So I had the opportunity to step in and start. I know the entire second half. I can't remember if I played in the first half, but I played the second half. I actually had an interception. I almost had another one, but I was looking at the end zone. So I had the touchdown before I caught the ball, so I dropped the football. But and then played in the game we got beat against Henry Clay. So, I was a sophomore, and I remember that next day, Dad took me to a Kentucky-Tennessee football game, and my neck was so sore I could hardly move it. I couldn't turn my neck because, I was a sophomore, probably didn't weigh but 150 pounds against, I can't remember all the players on that team for Henry Clay. I think maybe Christian Oat may have been one of them who played at UK, but I don't know if they won the state that year or not, or maybe the runner-ups. I can't remember, but they had a heck of a football team. They knocked us out my sophomore year.
Yeah, 21-6. Pretty close game. I don't know if that. I can't remember if that was. I think that was at home. I think that was. Yeah, it was.
It was. It was Putnam Stadium. Yeah, it was at Putnam Stadium. Yeah. But I just remember starting as a sophomore.
That team also included Scott Crank, he was just a great. Scotty Crank, to me, probably one of the best athletes to ever come out of Ashland, and one of the best quarterbacks. He could run the football, he threw the football. So, that was one thing about it. Scotty started, sophomore, junior, and senior year, and then and then I had to try to step in and fill those shoes. So that was, and nobody can fill those shoes. You can't fill the shoes of Scott Crank. You can only, do what you're capable of doing. So, but he was an outstanding athlete. I was gonna say he was a tough act to follow for you, and because that was his junior season, and his senior season was your junior season, and and that was Vic's first season. That was. I remember Manley left like in the spring. I remember, and they had to act quick. And Vic got the job, and you look at what happened with Vic's career, and you're like, well, that was a good decision for sure. But they didn't have time to search for a coach. I guess is what is kind of what happened. And that was a nice group of coaches on that team too, with Bob Force and Randy Heberlin, Don McReynolds, and Mark Renfro. That was a good group of guys you all had.
Yeah, really good group of guys. I just know going into my junior year, we got knocked out by, it was Dixie Heights in the playoff game. I think that was the coldest game I've ever played in. I think it was 0, and with the wind chill, it was, I don't know if it's 10, 15, 20 below 0. It was the coldest game. I remember Dickie Martin talking about that game. I think he said that was the coldest game that he had ever been to. And,
I remember Mike Relper telling me too, the sports editor at the Independent at the time, he had to, of course, he had a lighter. He had to light his pens, his Bic pens, because the ink would freeze between plays. That's how cold it was.
Well, I know this. I know I had a deep thigh bruise, a really deep thigh bruise. I don't know when I got it during the game, but it was so cold that I was numb that it was that evening when all that fluid went down to my knee and you couldn't see my knee, and they were worried. They thought they were going to have to drain it. Now, thank goodness, it just healed up on its own. But so the start of basketball season, I missed, practice and some games because of that. But it was so cold, I didn't even feel getting injured. I was numb. So
you played some receiver that year, didn't you?
I did. I played quite a bit. Gary Pendle was starting receiver at that time, and he ended up breaking out. I was in and out quite a bit, but then when Gary got injured, I started quite a few games at receiver. So I started as a split end, and then of course I started strong safety on defense.
Yeah, I have you with 9 catches, which was actually 4th on the team. So,
and Scott did. We threw the ball a little bit more than because that was Manley. Manley threw the ball. His sophomore year, Scott threw the ball quite a bit, and then we still threw the ball a little bit, but not as much. My junior year, because Vic was more. We ran the ball. I think we ran a lot of the wishbone too. We put the wishbone in quite a bit in some of those towards the end of the season, I think.
Well, you had Himes and Price. You had some, and Farrow. You had some good backs, and of course, like you said, knew how to run it too. Obviously,
Yeah. My junior year, I think we were senior dominated except for the backfield, like you said, because Chuck Price was a sophomore and Gary and so was Himes was a sophomore, and then Gary was junior with me. So it was a young backfield, but we had a lot of seniors on the offensive defensive line and receivers. So there's a lot of talent again. That's another year that a lot of people thought we had a good chance of winning another regional championship, but we came up against a good Dixie Heights team and got beat. Right.
So that kind of brings us to your senior season, and it was a good year for sure. Same group of coaches, and Dick's probably getting a little more comfortable with everything, and like you said, he has his whole backfield back, and he's got you stepping in at quarterback, and you had at least played a lot. I mean, you maybe hadn't played quarterback, but just getting on the field and getting hit and all that is really important, in that kind of situation. And you guys have a great season, really. I mean, you lose to Henry Clay and Ironton in your first 7 or so that wasn't really no disgrace losing to those teams. I guess the game I look on here, I'm sure you hate that game, was Russell beating you guys 17-0, shut you out.
And
I remember them. They were good.
They were real. Matter of fact, that's my senior year. Ironton had an outstanding football team. I think they went to the state championship game or the state semis. Ironton did, and I think Russell, they went far. Of course, we were 4A. I can't remember back then if Russell was 3A at that time. I'm thinking Russell was 3A. Okay.
I'm pretty
and
sure
they had an outstanding team.
Yeah, they got to the semis, I think, that year.
I believe so.
But the game, a couple of games I want to talk about. One, you're playing Bryan Station in Lexington, and this is a Bryan Station team. 3 or 4 NFL guys were on that team.
I know 3 for a fact. I mean, I know you're talking about Mark Logan or DeMonte Dawson and Cornell Burbage. Those were 3 guys that played in the NFL. Matter of fact, DeMonte Dawson's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. And then they had a kid named Edgar Shear. He was 6'5", nose guard, fullback. He went to Eastern, and they had a Winston Guy as their quarterback, and he may have. I don't know if he played NFL or not. I know he played some college ball, but I don't know if he played the NFL or not. So they had a lot of talent on that team. A lot of talent.
Probably the most talent you faced. I mean, there's no question. I mean, you're talking about, like you say, playing against NFL guys and speed and quickness and all that.
Oh.
And what do you remember about that game? Now, you all won 14-13. Hey, man.
Yeah, I did. I had a big game down there. I said the funny thing is, leading up, you mentioned the Russell game. I was injured, at the Ironton game. So going into the Russell game, I still was 100%, and it poured the rain on us, and Russell just whipped us. I mean, they did a 17-0, but it poured the rain on us. There's a lot of things we could not do. But now we're going into after a defeat like that, playing. I think I don't know which poll, but I think Bryan Station was ranked number 1 in one of the polls. They were either number 1 or 2. And it always, as a National Tomcat, those are the kind of games you definitely, get ready for. You love to, I know I did, and all the players that I played with, they love to play Lexington schools. I mean, because there's going to be a heck of a fight, a lot of talent. So we felt like we had something to prove. I mean, Russell beat us pretty badly. We knew we were having a good season, and we wanted to go down there and try to prove ourselves, and we did. And we did. I know. I believe Cornell Burbage was out that game, but I don't think that impacted him that much. He was more of a punt returner. They did play wide receiver. They ran the ball more than anything. But I just remember we jumped on them early. I think we got the first touchdown right before halftime. I think Darren Richardson picked up a fumble and scored. So we're up 6-0, and I think in the third quarter, I think I threw a touchdown pass to Steve Himes, so I think we're up 13-0, feeling pretty good. But like you mentioned earlier, all that speed they had, they came back in the fourth quarter and scored 2 touchdowns. And instead of kicking an extra point, they decided to go for the win. And I still kind of remember watching it on film, and there were like 4 or 5 guys, contributed to that defensive stop. So we stopped them right there and won the game, and like I said, beat the either number 1 or 2 team in the state of Kentucky. So we were feeling pretty good after that.
On their turf, even beat them. Yeah, 14-13 was the final in that game, and that is that's a very memorable game, I think, in Ashland history, really. You know, because how many times do you beat the number one team, you know, or number two or whatever? And I know.
Yeah, and I think.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Jake Hallam was at that game because I remember listening to old tape, and he was there. I think he was recruiting some of those kids from Brown Station. I don't think he was looking into the Tomcat players. We had a few guys that went to, maybe Moorhead, places like that, but we didn't have the kind of talent, Brown Station did. So, you know, Jake Hallam was at the game because I think Dirk interviewed him at halftime, and because he was there looking at, I think he was looking at Mark Logan and Burbage, and I think all three of them went to UK. You know, all three of those players went to UK. So.
Sure did. So, of course, the next week was Boyd County week, and you know that game always, you know, back when you were playing, especially that decided if you were going to be in the playoffs or not. Really, you know, I mean, you had to win that game. You had to win the district. Everybody didn't get in, kind of like it is now. You know, where it doesn't matter. You know, everybody's in no matter what. It seems like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It was a little different back then.
A little different.
A little different.
Boyd, you all wore them out 42-0, you know. And I know it's always for Ashland people, it's always good to beat Boyd County. You know, they enjoy it.
Yeah.
But that gave the district championship, and you're home for the playoffs. You got Boone County first game, Northern Kentucky, tough, you know, always, and you all hammer them really 21-3, pretty easy win.
Yeah.
Hines had 120.
Football team. I remember. Yeah. The Boone County was physical. I just remember they were big. They were a big team. Of course, most of those Northern Kentucky teams have big kids, you know, athletes too. So yeah, they were a good football team, and yeah, we had them pretty good at home. So. Yeah.
And then we get to play Brown Station again, which, you know, you just played them, 3 weeks prior, and that is so tough, isn't it, to play a team, especially a team like that's got so much talent, explosive. And even though it was home, I mean, I'm sure you all knew this was going to be tough, you know. But you beat a punch, you know. What do you recall about that game? It ended up 12-6.
Well, yeah, I think one thing about that, you know, and especially when you got two good football teams and you beat them earlier, they had a little bit more of a revenge factor, you know. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they had a little more revenge factor in their coming to Putnam Stadium and playing us. And yeah, there's a few things I remember about that game. One, I know they jumped on us, I think 6-0. I think it was 6-0 at halftime. It was a defensive struggle the whole game. And then I remember in the I don't know if we kicked off or something, but they fumbled the football, and we get the ball back in their territory, and we get down to the 10-yard line. So here we are at 6-0 getting beat, and we had the chance to, you know, maybe tie the score or go up by a point. Well, and I still remember we're running a speed option, you know, I'm going left, and as soon as I turned, somebody hit the gap, and they hit me. I fumbled the football, and I think it's Winston Guy picks it up and runs it 90 yards for a touchdown.
Are you kidding me?
So you talk, no, yeah. So you talk about a game changer. I mean, momentum. I mean, that just took a lot out of us. You know, and that's I didn't have one of my best games. I think I fumbled the ball a couple of times that game, and it was like I said, it was a tough football game. A lot of heavy, hard hitting. But yeah, I remember that on the 10-yard line. You know, and going 90 yards. So that who knows if we could have scored, what could have happened. But we bounced back, though. We came back, I think, and scored, you know, and made it 12-6. And I think in the fourth quarter there, we were moving the football. We were down about the 20 or 30-yard line with about 40 seconds left. So we had some chances, but then we fumbled the gut ball again. And they recovered, and that was it. So it was just it was a good battle. And you know, looking back, you know, if the ball bounces here or something happens there, you never know what could have happened. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that would have put you in the semis, I guess, right, at that time, I think.
Yeah, it would have. I think they played Christian County. I think Brown Station played Christian County. That would have been for the state semi-championship, because still back then you'd have played that had been the state at large championship game, and then you'd have played one of the Louisville schools for the state championship. So yeah, they still had the state at large. So yeah, that had been for the state at large championship.
Wow.
And yeah, and like I said, I mean, looking back, we were very close to winning that football game.
I remember, I think I was at one of the Brown Station games, and it was probably the one at Ashland, but I remember seeing Shearer and thinking, my goodness, that kid's a high school football player. He was so big.
Well,
and they,
gosh,
you know,
I mean, 6'4", 255, I think, as a high school kid.
And he could run.
He was fullback. He was nose. How many nose guards are a fullback? How many fullbacks are nose guards, right? I mean, he was a fullback and a nose guard. That's how big he was.
So, when throughout your career, when you were playing, that, you know, your dad got to see you play, right? Pretty much every game.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, that's the thing about it. You know, when he got out of coaching, I mean, he was at all the games, and you know, one thing about Dad, you know, the only time that, you know, the only time he'd get mad if he felt like I wasn't giving it 100%. You know, if I played badly, which, you know, I had my games, I didn't play too well, but as long as I gave an effort, you know, he was satisfied. So I don't remember, you know, very often, you know, him saying anything to me, because for the most part, you know, I try to give 100%. I do remember one game, I think it was my junior year. I got injured. My junior year, we played Leslie County in the Recreation Bowl. And that was a big, you know, I think it was Whitaker, the quarterback for Leslie County, and, you know, Scott Crank. It was a big matchup, two of the best quarterbacks in the state. We won the game, and at the end of the game, I'm making a tackle, and I think we were close to I think it was on the track itself. So I fell on the track, and I hit my shoulder. So I messed up my shoulder pretty good. So the East Carter game, I could not play. I played a little offense, but couldn't play defense. So I start, though, against Ironton, of all things, you know, and I felt like I had just a terrible game. You know, I was struggling. I wasn't 100%, but, and I remember we got beat pretty good. And I remember after the game thinking, man, you know, Dad's probably not going to be too pleased with this one. But, you know, I still remember him saying, hey, you know, you went out there and did the best you could. You a little bit injured, you know, but you played hard. So, you know, that's how Dad was. If he felt like you gave effort, you know, he was satisfied. So he was satisfied. So thank goodness I gave effort, you know.
Yeah. So he wasn't too tough on the critiques, or he didn't replay
the game? No, he wasn't. That's the one thing, you know, looking back, that, you know, Dad really did not. He didn't really critique very often. He may have, you know, said a few things, but I don't remember too many, you know, words. It was more encouragement, you know, and more than anything. So he, you know, I think one thing about him being a coach, he let Coach Marsh take care of that. So, you know, he knew that, you know, we had good coaches and they would deal with that. So, you know, I think it's helped Dad. You know, the only time he'd get after me, like I said, if he felt like I wasn't giving effort, and I don't remember him getting after me very often. So,
you know, and I can't imagine him second guessing the coach, even if he really wanted to, you know, if he really thought, that's not a good decision, you know, because I don't remember. Yeah, because I don't remember that at all. I mean, I don't remember him saying, well, you know, you all could have done this or done that. And I don't remember him saying anything like that. So I think once the game was over, and he said a few words to me, and, you know, either lifted me up or encouraged me or congratulated me some way. After that, it was pretty much, okay, let's just move on. Yeah. So now you played basketball too throughout, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I played basketball, football. You know, through didn't play baseball, but played both basketball and football.
So you were, let's see, were you on the 80 team that won? Were you on the
No, well, I was a freshman. I was on the roster. Didn't make the trip to state tournament, but yeah, that had been Ernie Simpson's first year. Ernie's first year. That was you know, Jeff Tipton and Smith and McCall. Boy, that was that's of all the basketball teams. That's probably the 79 team I remember quite a bit, and then of course I remember the 75 football team. So, but yeah, 79 basketball team had a lot of great talent as well. So, but I was a freshman that year.
Yeah, okay. So, but you had a pretty good career, you know, in basketball too. I mean, and I know, and Sean, you know, had a real good, you know, basketball career as well, and Jeff. I mean, you guys were all, you know, obviously you're Herb Conley sons. You got to be good athletes. There is expectation there, you know. Did anybody play baseball? Any of you guys?
No, I think Sean played in like minor league. You know, yeah. Dad didn't really discourage it, but he talked more positively about football and basketball, because I think he enjoyed those two sports, you know, the most. So he didn't really discourage it, but just by not saying a whole lot about it, we kind of just moved in the direction of football and basketball.
Right. Well, I know, you know, I know a proud moment for all you guys really, you know, was when the statue went up over at Putnam Stadium, and you know, statues are not reserved for people who are still around. You know, I mean,
exactly.
In most cases, you know, which and I know it was, supposed to be representative of all Tomcats, and I think it is, because, who epitomizes it more than him? I think if you were going to choose one person, there wasn't a better one. But talk about that.
I mean, how many? Yeah, yeah. I was going to say it was so. It was emotional for Dad. I mean, what a great honor, to have a statue put at Putnam Stadium. I think the only thing, looking back, too bad Mom couldn't have been there to enjoy it. She'd have got a real kick out of that. And like you said, too, I mean, how many people won a state championship as a player, as an assistant coach, and as a head coach in that state of large championship they won in '75. So I don't think that happens very often. I don't know how many people can say they've won that many championships as a player and a coach. So, and you're right, he epitomizes really, from player to the coach, and what Tomcat football is all about. I mean, still to this day, I mean, a lot of people, especially old timers, I mean, they. When you mentioned Coach Conley, they
oh yeah,
and it's still through my travels. For I've lived in Lexington for about 20 years now, and throughout my travels, if I've talked to somebody, tell them where I'm from, and mention my dad, either they know him or know of him. In a lot of cases. So because he played football at UK on scholarship and transferred, played for Roy Kidd at Eastern Kentucky. So Dad was definitely well known throughout the state of Kentucky.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, he's, like you say, everybody knows who Herb Conley was. Herbie, a lot of them call him, but great, obviously great player and all that too. So and like I said, I know you're proud of him and proud of how he represented Ashland. I think it was real important for him to come back and coach a little bit, and he got to do that and kind of rebuilt that thing out at Sims Valley. With a lot of the same principles. With all the same principles, really, that he, directed Ashland with too.
I remember. So I didn't live here at that time, but I'd come in and go to some of the games. And to me, doesn't it show you the mark of an outstanding coach? I mean, the success he had at Ashland, then he goes over to Sims Valley, and the program struggled a little bit, and he got that thing turned around over there. I can't remember. I think he was there about 5 years. I think it was 4 or 5 years he was there, and so I think so. And he had success over there. So I just. Was it okay? And the success he had, I mean, he put on a good, good strong foundation. So, I think they've had some success after he's left. I'm not sure what they've done, recently, but that's just the mark of a good coach. He took that same philosophy and same discipline, and he changed a little bit too. I mean, I don't think he ran the wishbone, and he kind of worked with the talent that he had, and they had success with it. So he kind of adapted. He adapted.
And I think he kind of mentored a young guy, to take over, for when he left, and yeah, they've been successul pretty much ever since. I mean, I don't know that there's been too many down seasons for them since he got it started. I mean, he got it rolling, and I know they loved him over there. I remember him. They got to play a game at Putnam. They played Fairview. And they played the game at Putnam, which was pretty cool. And you had Herb on the Ashland sideline again.
Yeah.
And they beat them pretty bad, if I recall. I think I covered that game actually. And
I don't think I'd had a chance to make that game. But I'm glad you brought up a memory I almost forgot about. Yeah, them playing at Putnam Stadium. I forgot about that. So I was out of town then. Didn't make that game. So yeah, for him being on the sidelines, that'd have been something else. I'm sure he had some mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were on the Ashland side too. I'm almost positive. But and I guess one of my other memories of him that it's not my memory, but just in my mind anyway, was the '67 championship game. And of course, with Joe Franklin dying in the car accident, and then the coaches found out, on the trip down, they didn't tell the players, that they thought it better not to, because they weren't going to cancel the game, because of that. And I think they just didn't want them, sad. I mean, football's an emotional game, and you take away some of that emotion, then, it's not good, So, they elected not to tell them, and they had to change all kinds of plans, in Louisville when they went down there. They had to keep them in the locker room, and your dad was guarding the door, and parents were coming up and saying, hey, Coach, I need to talk to Johnny, or whoever.
Yeah. And
he's like, no. and I mean, we're talking about, he's probably 27, 28 years old, arms crossed, looking like telephone pole arms, ain't nobody going to cross him to get in there.
Yeah.
And he kept everybody out. Nobody, they don't know. They still don't know, and of course they play the game and win the game, and they find out, after, everything that had happened that day.
That had to be difficult. That had to be very difficult on everybody, the coaches and then, having to tell the players. So, was that the state championship game or just the play?
Yeah. State championship.
Was that Elizabethtown? Yeah. Was that E-Town?
Yeah, that was the E-Town game. Played Elizabethtown, and ended up being 19-14 game, actually. Close game, and they were head 19-0 at the half, and E-Town came back. They had a guy that could throw the ball, and almost beat them. They had a play, a guy, Rejunas kind of bit on a fake or something and came up, and the receiver ran right past him. He's like the safety, and he was wide open, and the quarterback just overthrows him just by a few yards, and or they would have won 20-19. So
it'd be something if Ashland could play E-Town again that state championship game this year. That'd be something else.
That would be. I think they'd take that. I think they'd love to take that. They got a pretty good team. They got a good team. Just being part of all that tradition too, Greg. I know that's important to you. Not just with your dad, but what you did as well. You all had great. You really all 3 years. You guys were winning records, and I think you won 9 games twice in your 3 years. So you had to feel pretty good about it.
Well, looking back, I think Ashland's won 9 regional championships. Football championships. 9. I believe it's 9.
I think that's right.
I think I'm correct on that. And of those 9, Dad's been involved in 5 of them, and I've been involved in 2 of them.
Well, that's pretty
good. I
was
on the 80-82. My sophomore and senior year, we were regional champions, and then Dad was involved from 5 of those himself as a coach. So, very fortunate and blessed. Some great coaches, great players to be around, and just some great memories. It's funny when I don't get to see too many of the guys very often, but when we do, it's how it is. There's always a story that's brought up. Back in the old playing days, and what could have done. Sometimes the stories kind of get embellished just a little bit, just a little bit. But it's good times. It's Tomcat football and basketball, and baseball. What a great tradition! What a great tradition! And not many sports programs have a tradition like the Tomcats.
Right. Well, and it's good to hear. It was great to grow up as Herb Conley's son too. Because that can put some pressure on you. But I mean, you guys all you guys handled it real well. And I think part of that's because he handled it well, and and your mom and all that. You all had you had a great family behind you, and
And I'm sure she put him in. I'm sure Mom put him in place too. I'm sure if Dad was getting ready to say something, I'm sure Mom probably either said something or looked at him and put him back in place. Because, I mean, like I said, she was the one that kind of kept everything under control. So I'm sure she had a say in some of that. So
behind every good man is a good woman, right?
So, that's for sure. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Greg, it's been great talking to you, and thanks for sharing some memories. And I think people will really enjoy hearing this. And, it's hard to believe now. I'm going to make you feel old right now. It's hard to believe, but it's been nearly 40 years ago.
I know. I feel it, Mark. I feel it. I've got some joints throughout my body that it definitely feels like it's been that long. So, but, this has been great. It allowed me to relive some old memories and good times. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done and your support for the Ashland Tomcats. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right. Well, we'll check you later. Thanks, Greg.
Okay, Mark. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right. Bye.